Well, of course, we're here at The Rock, and the count is just over 60% of the national vote. And of course, it's very heated on the floor as the party political party members look to see how they've fared. It's a very interesting situation that's developing in the country indeed. Well, for more on the elections, I'm joined in our studio by Dr. Imraan Baccus. He's a political analyst. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. So, what's your reading of what's coming out of the numbers thus far? What do you feel the South African electorate is communicating or has communicated?
Well, it's clear outside of the largely rural provinces, the ANC is in steep decline. And I think it's paying the price for the context we live in: high unemployment, corruption, growing poverty, and there's an increased sense that people are tired. And while previously people may have stayed away, sort of internal contestations about their loyalty, this time around they came out and voted, and I think they've made their point clear that they want to change.
Yeah.
So clear frustration, I think.
I think most people are quite shocked at what's happening in terms of the results. Do you think that many of us, including the Fourth Estate, has actually been responsible for being out of touch with how people on the ground are feeling?
That's a great question, Mpo. I think, the media is such a powerful shaper of the national conversation, right? And I think in large part, huge sections of the media have been out of touch with the popular mood. I think sections of the media have spoken about many of the liberal parties in kind of fawning ways, as though, that is the popular mood. And I think it's really suggesting to us, like, many previously have pointed out, people like Stephen Friedman and others, that the media is speaking to a small section of our population. They don't read many of those print publications. And I think those print publications and other publications have not connected to popular sentiment. And now there's a rude awakening because, South Africa is a country where the base of the social strata counts. And the apex, the wealthy, are a small section of the nation. So I think, yes, the media has been out of touch completely.
Yeah. So with the metrics as they are, it's looking increasingly apparent that the ANC is not going to get an outright majority. It's going to have to talk to other major parties, not small parties, because the margin is so big. They're basically down by 9 percentage points for what they would need if they needed an overall majority. Say, for example, they were to partner with the DA, because apparently those thoughts and conversations may actually be happening. If they were to do that, presumably that would be quite a difficult partnership because they're not on the same page on a number of issues. I mean, if we just look at the recent signing into law of the NHI bill, not to mention as well the respective parties' positions on what's happening in the Middle East right now, that would be quite a difficult marriage, but one that, being a business journalist, one that the markets, I think, would be more comfortable with. What are your thoughts around that possible tie-up?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The business sector will welcome that. I think the international community will welcome that. But clearly, these two parties are ideologically opposed.
Yeah.
Beyond the examples you cited, there are a number of other situations where, even if you look at the DA's recent talk about economic policy, a reduction in import tariffs, looking at minimum wage in a way that does not suit masses of people. The ANC continues to focus on state intervention, but politics is about power, right? And everything is on the table. And one of the points I'd like to make is the ANC has a history of managing contradictions. If you think back to the late 90s under the Mbeki administration, well, Mandela's and then Mbeki's administration, there was a neoliberal onslaught. Privatization was on the cards. Yet you had many ministers, Alec Erwin and others, who were communist or communist leaning. And yet some of them had to be at the forefront of privatization. That might be one example of how the ANC has had to manage contradictions. And of course, it's had to do it at other times too. Sometimes it's done it well, and other times it hasn't. But the point ultimately is, even with the DA, I think they would have to manage those contradictions, and it's possible.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Dr. Imraan Baccus, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us.